Hello, beautiful soul family. Rebecca here, your vibe mentor. Let's talk about delayed manifestation and what could be causing that for you. So you felt this calling. You know you have this desire and it was meant for you. You can see it, you can taste it, you can feel it. You are absolutely certain that this is already done. But why isn't it happening yet? Why is it taking so long? I know that feeling. I have been there. Back in May of 2024, I had a vision that I was meant to move to North Carolina. I even had a dream of a new geo coordinates and a new license plate. And so by October, I was determined I was going to make this happen. I had stepped into the belief and embodied knowing that I get to follow my heart's desire, and there was nothing that was going to stop me from making that move. Historically, I had been really good at making things happen, and that worked for me for a long time. But this time, it didn't. Not only did it not happen, but I felt farther away from the divine and the plan for my life than I had ever before. I started questioning everything I thought I knew. Did I hear the divine wrong? Was this even meant for me? There is a moment in the manifestation process where you are no longer in that old life, but you're not quite in the new life yet either. And it can feel like you have one foot in each world. You can get a little bit anxious and it can be very uncomfortable. You start noticing things are shifting. New numbers show up. You start to resonate with different music. You even have this shifting change of identity or sense of self. But at the same time, the old life is still lingering. The material world outside of you looks the same. And it can feel really frustrating or even disorienting. And the hardest part is that you know where you're meant to be, but you're just not there yet. I felt this deeply when I was trying to move to North Carolina. The vision was so clear, and I had started stepping into that energy of it. I could feel it palpably in my meditations and visualization, but my reality still didn't match it yet. I was yearning for what was coming and yet still dealing with the remnants of what was still leaving. That space of the not yet is where so many people lose faith, myself included, for a time. But it's actually where the biggest shifts are happening. The hard truth is your manifestation will likely take longer than you think or want it to. And that is by design, because manifestation and becoming the highest versions of ourselves is not about getting what you want, but about becoming who you were made to be. And that, of course, includes becoming the person who is able to receive what you have called in. Most people don't realize this. But this is the moment where we start to lose faith and we actually delay or even prevent our manifestation. And if you start to try to force or manipulate things, you just delay it or even block it completely. The very act of striving, pushing, and manipulating is rooted in lack. And of course, lack repels what we desire. What we don't realize is that the discomfort and the delay, the in-between, is actually part of that manifestation process. We don't go straight from the old to the new. There is always a purification process required. There's also an integration phase and even recalibration that is necessary. Your internal shift has to happen first before the external world will catch up with you. Manifestation starts energetically and then moves into form. And what you make matter becomes matter. This is another way of saying where your focus goes, grows. The old isn't just lingering, it's offering closure and asking if you are able to look away from it. It's helping us to purge every last attachment and confirming that you are perfectly aligned to your request. Life is presenting you with the final experiences to clean up and properly complete that chapter. You're also being asked to embody the new version of yourself. We must feel what we desire to feel before we will move into that new place. This is what actually causes the manifestation to materialize. Your faith and resolve are being tested, and you are being forged by the fire. It is a delicate balance of belief, faith, resolve, certainty, and conviction, regardless of the how or the when. This is so critically important. We have to let go of both the how and the when. Instead of resisting this phase, we need to learn to live in the not yet with grace, patience, trust, and faith. Most importantly, surrender. We are learning to embrace the transition instead of resenting it, and to trust that what we are experiencing is part of the unfolding. It is not a setback. Abraham had to wait 25 years before the promise of his son was fulfilled. David had to wait 12 years before he finally became king. And the Israelites wandered the desert for 40 years, but they didn't have to. It wasn't meant to be that long. It was their lack of faith that caused the delay. They could have entered the promised land a whole lot sooner had they not had doubt, fear, and resistance that created that delay. And that's exactly what happens when we start questioning or pushing and losing faith in what we have been promised. The more we fight this phase, the harder it feels. But if we surrender to it, everything moves more smoothly with less pain and suffering. Life will always afford us the exact experiences that we need to make the internal shift to be able to realize the promise. So start to notice, are you in a time of rest? Are you in a time of waiting? Is there a heavy retrograde period? And then notice it is not a block. It's just a call for introspection or cleanup. If there's a delay, it's not a punishment. It's just an alignment or an adjustment. Frustration with the old, it's not failure. It's just proof that you're already stepping into the new. So how do we embrace the not yet instead of fighting it? Step 1, let yourself grieve the old without rushing into the new. Take time to really appreciate and be grateful for the experience that you have just had, or the people who have been in your life. Even when we want change, there is still a mourning process. Allow it. Step 2, recognize the lesson in what is still present. If something isn't fully gone out of your life, there is still wisdom to be gained from it. Have gratitude for that phase. You can even ask for clarity on what you are being asked to learn. Step 3, flow with the energies instead of resisting them. If life is slowing you down, it's on purpose. Trust the pace. Learn to dance to the rhythm of the music that is currently being played. Next, love what is, even when it's uncomfortable. Complete non-resistance does not mean passive acceptance. It means full presence with what is here right now. The best present you can give yourself is presence. That's where the magic happens. And when I tried to make that move happen on my timeline, I was not operating from trust. I was operating from fear, otherwise known as hyper-independence. And that stemmed from my old way of being, from that 16-year-old little girl that didn't have a home and believed it was all up to her and she was on her own. That it's all up to me mentality led to frustration and burnout and self-doubt. And instead of me feeling closer to my dream, I felt more lost. That's another downfall of what happens when we try to force things before it's time. We don't just delay it. We start to question whether it was even meant for us. We can have a crisis of faith. It may even lead to our questioning the very meaning of life, or if life is worth living, or worst of all, if God or the universe truly loves us. The number one reason manifestation takes longer than expected is that we resist the natural order and process. We lose patience and faith. Forcing is actually blocking. Doubt causes delays, and faith leads to alignment and maybe even acceleration. It starts with learning to trust the divine, trust God, and trust the process. If the vision was given to you, it will come to pass. It is safe to trust the guidance of the desires of your heart that were put there by your Creator. Your job is not to control. It is to prepare, it is to believe, and it is to align to the version of you who is able to receive. Let go of the when, let go of the how. The more you try to manipulate the timing, the more you push it away. Maintain unwavering, illogical certainty and faith. Losing belief isn't just a delay, it's a complete shutdown. Your manifestation cannot come if you don't believe it's possible. But when you release control and you stop striving and you surrender the process and you trust that you will receive, everything shifts into place. The right opportunities, the people, the circumstances, they all start to present themselves without your effort or your struggling or your striving. Instead of feeling anxious or doubtful, you feel peace because you know it is already yours. And the moment I stopped trying to make that dream happen and instead allowed it to unfold, I started to see the signs immediately. I could feel the renewed hope and a joy in every cell of my body. Energy and motivation returned. The right connection started showing up. And most importantly, I could feel the alignment again. You are not stuck. You are in process. The discomfort and the longing, the frustration, it's all part of your evolution. Your job is not to push through it, but to be with it, to hold yourself through the discomfort, to trust that you are already becoming who you need to be, and that life is shaping the path to bring you exactly where you are meant to go. When you fully embrace the not yet, something magical happens. The resistance dissolves, the timelines accelerate, and suddenly the new reality begins to appear. And not because you made it happen, but because you became the version of you who could receive it. So if you're frustrated that your manifestations are taking longer than expected, ask yourself, am I truly trusting the process? Am I believing that it will happen for me? Do I have absolute clarity and certainty, or am I trying to force it? Or am I in disbelief? The more you trust, the faster it comes. The more you doubt, the further away it gets. And if you try to force it, you won't just delay it, you even risk blocking it altogether. Now, I know this can be difficult for some of us who have experienced complex trauma. We have a state of nervous system and changes in our brain and body that cause us to struggle with belief and struggle with faith, struggle with certainty, and really have a difficult time holding ourselves through the times of waiting. So make sure you reach out for help. You are not meant to do this alone. We are made for collaboration and connection. If this resonated with you and you need help stepping out of that old way of being and healing your trauma, regulating your nervous system so that you can finally feel safe in your body and trusting the divine, then check out the free training link below. If you're a high achiever who's always been hyper independent and highly productive, you want to check out this most recent video where you can learn how your high productivity may actually be causing delay to your manifestation as well. I love you, my friends, and I will see you on the next one. Namaste.